The government shutdown of 2025 has already started, and millions of people across the United States are worried about what this means for their lives, their families, their paychecks, and the services they depend on every single day. A government shutdown happens when Congress fails to pass the funding that is needed to keep federal agencies and programs running. When the money is not approved, parts of the government are forced to close or work with very limited staff until lawmakers reach an agreement. This is not the first time America has faced a shutdown, but this year it is happening at a very sensitive time when families are already struggling with the high cost of living, rising rents, grocery bills, and healthcare costs. That is why people are asking the same questions right now. Will I get paid? Will my benefits stop? What services will be open, and what services will be closed? Today, we are going to explain all of this in very simple language so that everyone can understand what is happening. Before we go deeper, let me ask you something very important. If you care about Social Security updates, SSI and SSDI changes, and the latest SNAP benefit news that can directly impact you and your family, then you need to be here with us every day. I upload videos with the latest verified information so you never miss a payment update, a benefit increase, or an important deadline. Don't wait until it's too late. Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on the notification bell because this channel is built to protect you and your benefits. First, let's talk about workers. The federal government employs over 2 million people. These workers handle everything from airport security and law enforcement to social security offices and food safety inspections. During a shutdown, many of these workers are divided into two groups. The first group is called essential workers. These are people who must continue to work because their jobs are directly connected to safety, security, or health. For example, air traffic controllers, TSA agents at airports, border patrol officers, military members, and federal law enforcement must continue working even when the government is not fully funded. The second group is called non-essential workers. These workers are put on furlough, which means they are not allowed to work and they will not receive pay until the shutdown ends. In short, essential workers keep working but do not get their paychecks until the government opens again, and non-essential workers stay home and also do not get paid until the shutdown ends. Now, the good news is that thanks to a law passed in 2019, all federal employees who are either working without pay or furloughed will eventually receive back pay once the shutdown is over. This means they will not lose their salary completely. But the problem is they will not receive money during the shutdown period. Families that live paycheck to paycheck may struggle to cover bills, rent, or groceries while waiting for the shutdown to end. Imagine working every day at the airport to keep passengers safe, but not receiving your paycheck on time. This is why shutdowns are very stressful for government workers and their families. Let's move on to benefits. Many Americans rely on Social Security checks, supplemental security income known as SSI, Medicare, and Medicaid. The important thing to know is that these benefits are considered mandatory spending, which means they are not directly affected by the yearly funding bills that cause shutdowns. This means Social Security payments will continue to go out on time. Seniors, people with disabilities, and others who depend on these monthly checks can still count on them arriving. Medicare and Medicaid coverage will also continue, so people will still have access to their doctor's andies. This is a big relief for millions of households because Social Security and healthcare benefits are a lifeline for so many. But even though the checks keep coming, services at Social Security offices may slow down or stop during the shutdown. For example, if someone needs to request a new Social Security card, fix an error in their records, or file certain paperwork, they might face delays because many Social Security employees are furloughed. The agency will focus on its main job, which is making sure the monthly checks are sent, but other services could be limited until the shutdown ends. Other benefit programs face bigger risks. The Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children, better known as WIC, depends on government funding. During a shutdown, WIC can run out of money very quickly. Experts say WIC funding might only last for a week or two before states start running out of funds. This could mean millions of mothers and children may not be able to get help buying healthy food, baby formula, and other essentials. SNAP, also known as food stamps, will continue for a while, but could face disruptions if the shutdown lasts many weeks. This is why many community organizations and food banks are preparing to step in if families suddenly lose access to these benefits. Now, let's talk about everyday services. The IRS, which handles taxes, will shut down most of its operations during a shutdown. This means that if you need to call the IRS for help, file a paper form, or wait for certain approvals, you may face long delays. Electronic systems might still run for a while, but customer service and manual processes will be very slow or completely stopped. Immigration services are also affected. Some visa and citizenship applications may still move forward, but processing times will become longer because many staff are furloughed. People waiting for interviews, green card updates, or other approvals may experience big delays. Travel is another area where Americans feel the impact very quickly. Airports remain open because air travel is considered essential. TSA agents, customs officers, and air traffic controllers must continue working. However, since they are not receiving pay during the shutdown, morale drops, stress rises, and some employees may call in sick because they cannot afford to work without pay. This can lead to long lines at airport security and delays in flights. We saw this happen in past shutdowns, and many passengers fear the same will happen again in 2025 if the shutdown continues. National parks and museums are also affected. Some parks close completely while others remain open with very limited staff. This can cause safety issues, trash buildup, or closed visitor centers. Families planning trips may arrive at a park only to find locked gates. Museums that depend on federal funding, like those in Washington, D.C., may also close. For tourists and families, this can be very disappointing. But for local businesses that rely on tourism, it can mean losing important income. The military continues to work during shutdowns. Soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines will not stop protecting the country. However, like TSA and border agents, they may not receive their paychecks on time until Congress restores funding. This puts extra stress on military families who must still pay rent, utilities, and groceries without knowing when their paycheck will arrive. Federal courts usually remain open during the early days of a shutdown, but if it lasts a long time, they may need to scale back operations. Routine cases might be delayed while urgent cases such as those related to safety continue. Federal regulators like the Environmental Protection Agency and the Food and Drug Administration may stop most of their inspections. This could mean delays in food safety checks or environmental enforcement, which can create additional risks for the public. One of the scariest parts of a government shutdown is uncertainty. Families who depend on steady paychecks or benefits are left waiting and worrying. Employees want to know how long they must survive without income. Seniors want to know if their Social Security checks will be safe. Parents want to know if DELWIC or SNAP will continue. Students may wonder if their financial aid or federal student loans will be processed. Everyone feels the stress of not knowing what will happen next. Shutdowns also hurt the economy as a whole. When federal workers miss paychecks, they spend less money at restaurants, shops, and local businesses. Contractors who work with federal agencies may lose projects and revenue. Delays in approvals for housing loans, small business permits, or government contracts can slow down entire industries. If the shutdown lasts weeks or even months, the economic cost grows larger and larger, hurting not only government workers but also private companies and everyday families. It is important to remember that shutdowns are not caused by the workers themselves or by the agencies. They are the result of political disagreements in Congress over how much money should be spent and where it should go. Lawmakers argue over the budget, and when they cannot agree before the deadline, the government runs out of legal authority to spend money, and a shutdown begins. This means the solution is always in the hands of Congress and the president, who must reach a deal to reopen the government. Until that deal is reached, families will continue to face stress and uncertainty. Federal workers will keep waiting for their back pay. Families who rely on WIC will worry about food for their children. Travelers will wait in long lines at airports. Seniors will still receive their Social Security checks, but they may struggle to get other help from SSA offices. Every day that passes during a shutdown adds more pressure on lawmakers to act quickly, but the longer they delay, the more painful it becomes for the American people. The 2025 government shutdown is a clear reminder of how deeply connected government funding is to everyday life. From the paychecks that support families to the services that protect health and safety, nearly every part of society feels the effects when the government shuts down. People who never thought about politics before are suddenly asking questions because their pay, their food assistance, or their travel plans are at risk. It shows how government decisions in Washington can have direct consequences on every home, every town, and every community across the nation.